Shannon here today to help taste some mangoes.
Awesome.
You live on the west coast of Florida, right?
I do. I live just near the Ringling Museum property in Catazan, about a mile from the ocean in Sarasota, just south of the Sarasota airport. So these little round trips are about 8 hours with a stop to get something to eat on the way back, maybe eat some mangoes in the truck before I drive back for some quick energy. But yeah, I've lived in Sarasota for a couple years now. I relocated from the Kansas City, Missouri area.
You've tasted a fair number of mango varieties.
I tried to.
What are your favorites?
Well, hands down, unless somebody convinces me otherwise, Phoenix. And I only had a small number of them, and I will admit I only had Phoenix for the first time this year. But I'm learning that my palate currently leans towards more spicy Indian flavored mangoes. And so correct me here if I get one of these wrong, but I really like Julie a lot, and I think it's great. And I really like Dwarf Hawaiian, Julie's grandson or child.
I think child, yeah.
Child.
Yeah.
And then Phoenix, to me, feels like it's in that same flavor profile. And then I don't know if they're in the same family, but what I've learned this year is that I really enjoy Rosy Gold as a less spicy and less intense flavor, but still very satisfying, flavorful mango. And then most recently, Molgoba, not in that same flavor profile necessarily, but Molgoba, Bailey's Marvel, and I think I'm missing one that I tried recently, a Valkyrie. I really liked Valkyrie. And I like Carrie well enough, but I'm not like a huge Carrie fan, but I did enjoy Valkyrie quite a bit. And so, did I answer the question?
Yes.
I know. Sorry, I'm a little talkative.
So, you ready to?
Absolutely. I'm curious to see what you have that I've never tried before.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll try this one. I'm pretty sure you haven't tried this yet.
Oh, okay. So I don't get to know what it is.
Well.
No, that's okay. That's totally okay.
You can tell me
get
what
a napkin so I can be like halfway proper.
Oh, gosh.
It has a very, very pretty interior.
Yep, nice color fruit.
Ooh, it's obviously got a lot of juice to it.
Yep.
I'll wait. I'll be polite. And then were you going to show the camera too?
Or? You can just dive right in. It's fine.
It looks like, without tasting it, that it might have just a little bit of fiber to it, and I don't know, maybe a little riper on the top. So. It is very juicy. The juice almost, especially near the skin, almost has a sweeter taste than the first bite. There's definitely a little bit of resin to it, not a lot. And of course, I've now got a piece stuck in my teeth. The bottom is definitely not quite as ripe, a little milder. I wouldn't say washed out, but definitely a little milder flavor. I've seen your puppies like them, so I thought I'd try to be generous. The bottom has a little bit of tartness to it. The top, I think, was really rich. I mean, the mangoes I've tried so far, I kind of look at a spiciness or a richness scale of like 5s. And I would say this is medium to medium highish, 3.5 on a spice and richness level. It's not, to me, heavy in actual spiciness, but it definitely can taste some. And I definitely like the top better. Near the edge, there was a little bit different flavor. I don't know what I would say it was, but it wasn't remarkably different than the flesh to me.
Did it remind you of another variety that you might have tasted?
Gosh, the flesh was fairly firm. Again, I'd say about a 3 on firmness. Maybe a little bit like a little bit underripe Jakarta, maybe. I don't know. But there's definitely a fruity flavor other than just mango there for me. I mean, did you think so?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a rich flavor. Has just a firmness that has from having a little bit of fiber in it, but you wouldn't call it a stringy mango.
No, not at all. But if one string's going to catch, it's going to be in the center of my teeth while on camera. That's just kind of a given. So I get that. Is it a known variety? I get the impression you're letting me try something that's not a known variety.
Well,
Or a well-marketed or well-known variety.
it's a fairly new variety, but it is very similar to a variety that I know you've had.
Oh, now the pressure's on. Gosh. I'm trying to think. There's a little bit of a tart aftertaste to it. It's more refreshing than like creamy or overly rich or something like that. That I've had. I have to say I can't I can't think of it.
It's this particular fruit is called Super Julie.
Oh, I just got a bag. That's why I just got a bag of those.
Your research is somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go on record saying that doesn't taste like Julie to me.
It's funny because what was it, a couple of years ago, Scott was here and tasting things, and we tasted this, and he said it absolutely did not taste like Julie.
But now Scott's flavor profile would be more to like this over Julie, I would think.
Well, he liked that, but then I
know it's weird. I
found a Julie that was at the right ripeness, and had him taste them side by side without looking at what they were, and he couldn't tell the difference.
I would have to take that bet because to me this would have to be riper to fool me as a Julie. But then the first Julie that I ever had, and the reason I think I'm most passionate about it, was one of the first times I came and was getting bags, and me and I can't remember his name. The gentleman was here today with the red hair. Sean. I should know that. That's my brother's name. You gave he and I a drop. And that Julie just was so fragrant and so ready to eat that I actually ate it in the pickup truck. And I was shocked at how rich and delicious the flavor was of that. It was definitely riper than this, but yeah, I would have to be blindfolded for you to convince me that was Julie. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. But
that's what we're going for.
No, it is good. It's definitely good. But it to me, there's a I hate to say freshness to it that I don't associate with Julie. To me, I think of Julie as like that kind of heavier dessert mango that you kind of kick back after dinner, and you're going to have a nice after dinner cocktail and something rich and really unctuous. And this reminds me of something that, like, if I'd been out working in the yard in my mangoes and I needed something to kind of perk me up or freshen me up, this is to me it's the difference between drinking like a coffee or a cola and drinking a lemonade. This is quenching and refreshing. So
all right,
is that fair?
Yes. Wonderful. And we have a few more things to taste.
I saw Paige written there, and I have to admit I don't know anything about Paige. It is pretty, but you could have fooled me visually that was a Jakarta. And maybe it's just because of the size. It doesn't look as dark colored as a Jakarta, though, or the ones I've seen.
Yeah, I can't quite decide which one is going to be riper, so we'll go with this.
Alrighty. Ooh, it cuts like it's ripe. Oh, I forgot to be delicate and grab a napkin so I don't make too much mess of a juice. Thank you. Again, very juicy. I can't see any fiber in this one. Now that almost has kind of a familiar smell to it. Again, I've never had a Paige, but I like that pretty well. That kind of reminds me, I always hate to call in the name Carrie for anything, but it almost tastes a little bit, part of it, like a really not quite ready to eat Carrie, but with a little bit firmer melting flesh.
It doesn't have the heaviness of Carrie.
Yeah. No, it's very light.
It's a brighter flavor.
Yeah, absolutely. It may be just, I guess, because of the juiciness, and then there's a smell. I think it smelled a little bit more like a Carrie to me than it tasted like a Carrie. But again, I always kind of look at them and decide whether I'm going to try to take a bite from the bottom or the top, depending on the color of the flesh and whether I think I'm going to like this one a little less ripe and a little more ripe. So kind of one of my cheats, if you will, is I'll cut a piece of fruit and when I think it's ripe, and then kind of gauge whether I want to let it set more or eat it like this based on tasting the bottom versus the top. And so the bottom...
Eating must be very complicated for
my
you.
life is complicated. for being, it should be as simple as possible. Yeah, everything's complicated. But you want to enjoy, you want to enjoy your mangoes. I drove 8 hours to get them, so I want to try to be selective and, know what I like. So was this representative? I mean, you said you didn't know if it was quite as ripe. So was this, I mean, you've eaten Paige before, so is this quintessential Paige?
Well, I wouldn't say it's quintessential Paige because different people like it at different levels of ripeness. I like this quite a bit when
Sure.
it is slightly underripe, but I like that, that tart, tiny hint of tart. It's not overwhelming.
It was
tart.
very, yeah.
It's just a hint of it.
The Super Julie to me had more tart than the Paige, for me. And I do taste a little tart to this, definitely, but yeah, very, very, very mild tartness. Now, this is not quite as juicy because it just didn't just run everywhere after you cut it.
The juice meter is it's got a 1 drip versus a 3 drip over there.
Well, when kind of eyeballing out of the corner of my eye, just looking at the shape and stuff, I thought, well, now is this going to be like a Valkyrie or a Tess Pollock? But Tess Pollock should have a lot more juice than that, right? And that's not quite the right shape,
and not quite the right color either.
Okay. Again, I'm still new.
Yeah.
This one doesn't look like it has any fiber in it at all either. Or I could be wrong. It's certainly not unpleasant fiber, but there is a little bit of fiber to it. I should have asked too. I've just started experimenting with eating skin. So if any of these Har would definitely have eaten the skin on, let me know and I'll at least try it. So
he will eat skin on every variety one time.
Agreed. That's what I'm saying. Well, don't tell me the ones he only ate one time. How about the ones he chooses to eat repeatedly? So I don't mind the skin on this at all. Kind of like the skin on a plum. To me, the skin doesn't really add or detract from the fruit. On this one, it adds a texture, definitely. But it's kind of like eating a ripe plum as far as the skin to me. So if I puff up the Benadryls in my truck, it's in the console. No, I'm kidding. So I really like that mango. It's not one of the richest. I mean, it's not one of the deepest, richest flavors, but I really like the balance of flavor on that. I think it's got kind of a bright flavor. I definitely think it would appeal to a general audience. I've never, I've seen you say in videos that some people don't like overly, rich or overly sweet, or I can't imagine being overpowered by a mango. I mean, not like physically with a knife or anything, but I mean flavor-wise. But this definitely walks the road where I think anybody would like this. And it definitely has a well-rounded flavor. Kind of touching on, for me, most of your sweet, your a little tart, very juicy. Definitely when I took a first bite, besides noticing there actually is fiber in it, it had a very satisfying first bite. A lot of times I think I become a little judgmental in that I'm one bite, you get like one bite, and then if you're not a tasty mango, then you kind of go to the side, and I tell myself that I'm going to let you ripen, and then you're brown, and you go in the trash, and I never eat another one. But so what was that?
That was Pickering.
That was my first Pickering.
Wow.
So it should have tasted kind of like Carrie, but it didn't to me.
It doesn't have that, like the heavy, rich flavor of Carrie. It's like a lighter flavor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised, just because I was really excited to try Pickering, based on all of the positive factors of growing a backyard Pickering. It's precocious, it's disease resistant and produces inland well, it stays manageably sized, it's kind of touches on all those points. And then kind of recently this year, I'd heard or read a couple of reviews or something where people were kind of, I don't know, blah on it. And so I hadn't sought it out. I saw you had it for sale today, and I almost clicked on it, but I tried Jacqueline instead. So now that I've had a Pickering, I have to now eat Jacqueline and see if I made a mistake. But that was very, very good. I like that. I think back in the day when I was in college, I liked vodka. And I had a daily drinking vodka. That would be my daily eating mango type. I could definitely eat that every day.
For special occasions, you dress it up a little bit. But
well, it's not like, so much dress up the glasses, just get the higher expensive. When you're in college, money is a factor. So you have, your lower shelf for daily and then, your upper shelf for a special event or Tuesday or I don't know, whatever it may be. I'm not an alcoholic. Actually, I drink very little now.
So, I guess we'll go with this one. It seems like this might be slightly underripe, which is wonderful for me because I like it at that stage.
Okay.
But
I did see clear sap. So this was something, at the stem.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a very juicy one.
Not quite as juicy as the dot was the one that was
the first two were the juiciest.
The Paige and the
yeah, and then this would fall in between that and the not as juicy. But one thing I learned, not real recently, but recently-ish, is when picking mangoes, you want the sap, for the most part, to be clear at the stem and not white. Is that right? Except for, you said Tess Pollock and maybe one other variety?
Yeah, there are some varieties that you never can get that with, but yeah, in general, that's something that some people look for.
So, is it weird? This smells a little buttery to me. I'm weird, so it smells a little buttery. I don't think I'm going to try the skin on this. I got a little hint of the skin, and I don't think I need to go any further into the skin on that. So, is this the ripeness you would have wanted this?
I like it at this stage.
I may have a guess on this one.
What might your guess be?
I will quantify in saying it kind of tastes like a lesser ripe Jacarta to me, because I say that because it has some of it's very juicy and it's sweet, but it kind of tastes like maybe if you put just a little bit too much water in your Kool-Aid. So it tastes like, to me, like Jacarta tastes, but not as strong. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you gave it a day or two, my guess would be Jacarta on that one.
Well, it's fairly close guess.
Okay, at least I got close.
It's Jacqueline.
Oh my gosh, so now the other one I got. So now I know what that one tastes like. So
at least you know what this Jacqueline tastes like. You've got a whole bag
of them
to research. Right?
I do like it, and I do like Jacarta. My big thing with Jacarta is the size of the fruit for somebody that's just, I'm the only one eating mangoes.
Oh, you could do it though.
And I do, but then I have to take a break from a mango for a little bit. But when I get these and take them home, I have to admit, I eat 5 or 6 mangoes a day. So I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent, but when you are eating that many, if I'm going to eat a Jacarta, there's definitely going to be like a lemon meringue thrown in there to try to keep the numbers up, something like that. Jacqueline is good. I would say that the description I read describing it as rich and spicy, when I hear that, I go to the higher end in my mind, like the 5-point scale of like a 4 to a 5. I would say richness for me, this particular piece of fruit is about a 3 out of 5. And again, that's not negative. Mm-hmm. It's just an assessment. And that also tells me that I'll probably let the Jacqueline sit on the counter for a day or two longer than...
Yeah, you got to try it at different levels of ripeness.
That is true. That is true.
quite a bit too.
So this one's got very bright yellow flesh, and it looks like well, there's two, three. Oh, you got one. One of them actually got you. So it was a juicy one. So this has a very thin skin, so I just ate the skin on it. The skin does have the tiny, it's very, very thin. The skin is very, very thin, and it easily comes off with the fruit. Again, the skin's just kind of like a real thin plum skin. There's maybe the tiniest bit of kind of resin, pine resin in the skin, but just the tiny, tiny, tiny bit. There's definitely a melting flesh fruit. Very soft, very, very nice melting flesh fruit. I'd give the spice ranking a 2 out of 5 personally, as far as just how much spice there is in it. Very tasty, very refreshing. When I think of melting flesh, of the ones I've tasted, Carrie is kind of the one I kind of compare everything to. It to me seems like it has the I hate to use the word again, quintessential melting flesh. This seemed close. It seemed like a little bit firmer, but it definitely was melting flesh. Yeah, medium richness, maybe a 3.5 on richness for me, about a 3 for spice. Very thin skin, the tiny, tiny, tiniest bit of pine or resin in the skin for me. Again, I very, very, very much like it. I have no idea what it is.
That is Florigon.
Okay, so I hated on Florigon last year and part of this year, so that really surprises me with Florigon. That turpentine that I have in the front yard, the branch that I didn't cut off, I actually grafted a Florigon, and I have a picture in my phone. The graft initially failed, and then it was a side cleft graft, and the graft initially failed, and then the bottom part of the graft popped up, and you can see under it, and then the rest of the graft took like a side graft. So I don't know if that's going to survive. I actually brought a photo of it. I just remembered I was going to ask you, do you think this will survive? But it failed originally, and it was high in the air, so I just never went and got it. And then I went and looked, and went, I'll be darned, it grew. But most of the Florigons I've had, I didn't enjoy like that. This is a smaller Florigon, is that fair?
Yeah, I mean,
about right size, or?
Yeah, that's a typical size for us anyway.
I may have gotten the one I've gotten may have been a tiny bit bigger than that, but I like that a lot better than the ones I've had. So Florigon can now kind of be taken off of the rock T-shirt that says "Crappy Mango List," and you put a so. You re-indoctrinated me to the Florigon.
So this the skin is a little bit green, so hopefully it's
thank you.
At a good level of ripeness for you.
It looks like one where there might have been like a little bit riper near the skin, so maybe a little different flavor there. That is juicy.
Yep, fairly juicy.
So I kind of visually cheated. I saw the name. Didn't mean to, but I did. But the ones I've had of this, I think have either been riper or the skin was darker. Is this a light skin for this variety?
The skin color often depends on the position in the tree, and so this ideally it will have a blush, but a lot of mangoes this year have not had a blush. For the rest of you, this is Mulgoba.
Well, I didn't know I was supposed to tell.
Well, I mean, since you and I both know,
Yeah.
It seems only appropriate to let everyone else know.
So I had Molgoba for the first time this year, actually from a bag of a sorted bag that I got from you, and I really liked it. I think that this one has a little bit, this particular piece of fruit has a little bit more lemoniness to it, maybe, than other Molgobas I've tried. Is that right?
I mean, the skin is still a little bit green, so yeah, that it is slightly underripe. let's wrap up this tasting video.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, you're not done yet.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
We got to get your favorites out of this bunch.
Okay, absolutely. So I liked Jacqueline a lot, and I really liked that Pickering. I didn't have one I didn't like. I was actually saying right before you started the video that I've kind of started to become a little bit of a mango snob. I've kind of coined my phrase, life's too short to eat crappy mangoes. And so, there's none of them I didn't like. I was kind of waiting to get one and then was mentally
ready to trash it.
Well, I was actually the opposite. I was actually like, okay, put on the brakes a little here. People like these. But no, I like them all. I would say not my favorite example of the Molgoba, but it was tasty. The Pickering was very good. I really like the Jacqueline. If I had to eat one for the rest of my life, maybe if, I don't know, you cut a Pickering and a Jacqueline in half and kind of mushed it together so I could like have a little bit. So those would be my two favorite.
Well, thanks very much for helping us
Thank you for
taste
having me.
these. And it definitely was great to have your input.
I appreciate it. I'm very opinionated and obviously talkative, so anytime.